I've been a really big fan of the Venom from Spider Grills on my Weber kettle for a really long time. So when the Huntsman came out, I wanted to be one of the first ones to try it out, and they sent me this one for free so that way I could test it and review it for you. Well, let's do a quick tour of the grill. Now, you want to think of it like a Weber kettle, except it's made to last forever. This one has 5mm thick walls, or that's 3/16 of an inch for us Americans, and that's gonna have some huge benefits that I'll go into in just a little bit. And people have asked if it's powder coated, which it isn't. It's seasoned a lot like you'd have with a cast iron pan, where you have a thin coating of oil that then gets burned on it. It's the same thing that they do for a lot of the high-end offset smokers that you'll see as well. And this lid is just as heavy duty as the rest of it. It's equally thick, and even though it's a pretty heavy lid on its own, you can lift it with just a finger or two, and that's because it has an adjustable hinge on the back, and you can adjust the tension to be the way that you like. And that adjustment is super easy because Spider Grills sends you all the tools that you need in order to be able to put this grill together. A lot of other grill manufacturers will send you this tiny little wrench made just for the casters and then leave you hanging for the rest. But this one came with a ratchet and all of the sockets that you need to put it together, as well as adjust that hinge. When you look inside this grill, one of the first things that you're going to notice is this web-shaped stainless steel grill grates, and they're really thick, so you know they're going to last a long time. They're also split in two, so that way you can use one at a time or both of them depending on the cooks that you're trying to do at the time. And in my experience, these are not as easy to clean as, say, a cast iron grill grate or the rod style grates that are common on most grills, because a wire brush just isn't going to cut it. And what I found works best, if you let these cool off after the cook, you can take a standard metal scraper that you'd use for a flat top grill, and you can scrub them down, and that gets most of the stuff off, so they're pretty clean. And because this is a standard 22-inch size, you could use a regular grill grate from a Weber kettle and put it in here, and it fits just fine. And these grill grates are just over 7 inches from the top of the grill grate to the charcoal grates underneath, and that's a couple inches more than you'd get with your standard Weber kettle. And people have asked if you can use the slow and sear with the Huntsman, and you absolutely can. It will fit inside because there's plenty of room for it. Although you absolutely don't have to. I cooked this pork butt with just the things that came with the Huntsman, no extra accessories, and it came out absolutely awesome. And that's because the larger depth between the grill grate surface and the charcoal grate surface keeps the charcoal a little bit farther away and keeps you from burning your food on those long cooks. And the height of the grill grate is a little bit higher than you'd get with the original or premium Weber kettle, and it's about the same height as you'd get with the Master Touch, which of course is a couple inches higher. And if you're tall, then this is an absolute game changer than those shorter grills, because you're not bending over as much when you're cooking. If you're using the Spider Venom with a regular Weber kettle, you have to take the pit probe and then slide it in underneath the lid and then attach it somewhere on the grill grate surface, which takes up a little bit of your cooking space. But on the Huntsman, they give you 2 spots that you can put it in. One is in the back of the lid, and the other one is right below the grill grate surface, right over here on the side. So that way it doesn't take up any of your room. And I put my pit probe in the back in the lid, so that way it was just above the grill grate surface, because that's the same level that you'll get with your food, so you should get the most accurate temperature reading from over there. And they one-up themselves with the Huntsman over the standard Weber kettle with the Spider Venom, because this pit probe can read higher temperatures without burning out, so they raise the maximum temperature that you can maintain in the grill to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. And I haven't tested it yet, but I can't wait to cook some amazing pizza on this grill. The Spider Venom sits right here on the bottom of the Huntsman, just like it would on the Weber kettle. It's going to act as the ash catcher here at the bottom, but the Venom is the fan controller, which will regulate the temperature inside of the grill. And one of the things I was really surprised about is how consistent it keeps the temperatures inside of the Huntsman. On my pork butt cook, it never varied by more than 2 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the whole cook, just as long as I didn't open up the lid. If I did open up the lid, the temperature of course would drop, but it recovered a lot faster and didn't overshoot like I had seen on the Weber kettle. And it can do that because of the thermal mass of this grill. So as this gets hot and warms up, it retains that heat, and when it needs to, it can release it back into the cooking chamber. It acts a lot like you would get with a ceramic Kamado without the risk of moving it around and ending up breaking, like I've seen a lot of people do with the ceramic Kamado out on the internet. With this one, saw Jeremiah from Spider Grills hit it with a sledgehammer and it didn't leave a dent. And in my surprise that even though the grill holds in the heat really well, if I ever needed to lower the temperature, I was able to do that still pretty quick and much faster than I would see in that ceramic Kamado. So you end up getting the best of both worlds. And they also did some future proofing with this grill right over here on the side. has a rectangular hole that could be used for a fan controller from a different manufacturer if that's something that you wanted to do. The Venom has worked really well for me, so I haven't been tempted to do that, but it's nice to know that it's there. And the only time I didn't use the Spider Venom when using the Huntsman is when it was raining and I'd promised the kids to make hot dogs for dinner. Of course, they can tell the difference between gas and charcoal and much prefer charcoal grilled hot dogs. And that was a super easy cook. All I had to do was adjust the vents just like you would normally would with a kettle, and I could adjust the temperatures that way and they came out perfect. The front of this grill has an amazingly large Spider Grill's logo, and right behind that logo is a big giant door. One of my biggest complaints about using charcoal grills is that when it comes time to refuel them, you end up having to take the grill grates out with all the food on it, try not to drip the grease everywhere in order to be able to put more charcoal in. But this one is going to allow you to adjust the fire. With the fire rake that they gave you, you can move the coals around, and you can also add extra fuel while you're at it. This would work a lot better with big chunks of wood or lump charcoal, because if you're using briquettes, it's a little bit harder to get it in there, but I found a trick. I just use a shovel to help funnel everything in there, and then the rake to put the coals where I needed them. And people have asked if the construction of this grill justifies the cost over, say, a standard Weber kettle with the Spider Venom. And you have to look at some of the alternatives of what you would get for something like this grill. And the closest ones are the 22-inch ceramic Kamados. If you go and look at a lot of the big brands, Team Green, Team Red, that you've probably heard of, they're gonna run you about twice as much as this one. The introductory price is $750. They're saying $900 after the original promo and first release is out. But even if you wanted something like the Summit Kamado from Weber, which is also made out of metal, you're looking at several $100s more. And in all of those options, you don't get a fan controller. You'd have to buy that separately, which makes this a pretty good value. And for even more value, if you use the promo code GRILLTOP, they will give you a free battery that you can use with your Spider Venom on the Huntsman or on the regular Spider Venom. And that way you can run it without running an extension cord to your grill, which is super cool. But no, I'm not gonna get anything if you buy it or not with that promo code, so feel free. And if you're not ready to upgrade to the Huntsman, but you are interested in upgrading your Weber kettle with the same controller that this one runs, check out this deep dive on the Spider Venom next.